There's me.
Okay, so Herapon here is he's a Shulk Rob co-main. Identifies as a competitive player, a journeyman player in the roster I use. Not so much beginner, not so much intermediate, still trucking along, getting as far as he can. He wants to see how far he can get in Smash, and more immediately wants to try to make it out of pools in a major. He said you're going to Big House this weekend. Excited for that?
Yeah. It's gonna be great. I know that for sure.
For sure. Okay,
Yeah.
so you said your main strengths, the main thing you're proud of in the game is game knowledge. You have a lot of experience since you've been playing for a very long time. But you have a tendency, you said, to throw away leads.
Yeah.
You struggle dealing with opponents who spot dodge, and you struggle with execution and decision making.
Yeah.
And your goals for this lesson, you said you wanted to talk about recognizing and creating openings and optimal punishes, and maybe some of the stuff in the weaknesses as well.
Yeah.
Alright, so let's go ahead and get right on that. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pick any Omega stage. So, for starters, let's talk about let's see. Okay, so I wanna talk about the top weakness, the first weakness that you said you recognize, which is the fact that you have a tendency to throw away leads.
Yeah.
This goes a little bit into the fundamentals of the game. I want to talk to you a little bit on what constitutes a lead, where you can know what the basis is and all that stuff, and how you can make sure that you're getting the most out of every situation that you're putting forth. So, first off, let's see. When you throw away a lead, the basic sense of it is you already know you have, like, let's say 24%. I have a lead on you, right? That's the basic. That's obvious enough to tell. You have more percent than I do, therefore I am in the lead. Now, one thing that you need to keep in mind is that this doesn't really matter too much in the long run, because there's 6 minutes on the clock, 2 stocks, and percent can easily be turned one way or another. If there's a huge percent lead, then that's fine. If there's a stock lead, then that's fine. That's a lead. So let's talk about how you can extend this lead, how you can keep it going. So you already know about the concept of advantages in this game.
Yeah.
Okay, so touching up a little bit on that, you got stage control. That's the most obvious one. Where, let's say I'm here in the corner, I'm at a disadvantage. You have known the reason. Do you know what creates an advantage? Why it's called an advantage?
I mean, simply because I'm holding more ground and like my threat zone is technically bigger.
Yes, but why is that an advantage?
Because, well, I mean, the closer you are to the edge.
Your threat zone isn't bigger. Your threat zone's the same no matter where you are. It just depends on what you're able to do.
It's like I'm better positioned,
yes.
I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Now, what I'm trying to get at is not so much the fact that it is a better position, but I'm asking you why it's a better position. And when you understand that, it makes it a little more obvious on what creates an advantage. The reason it's a better position is because you have more options. You have the ability to do more things, and me in a worse position have the ability to do less things. So for example, I can move forward, but then I'm in your face. I can move backwards, but then I'm off stage. I can jump in the air, but then I can't use my grounded options. It's like I'm restricted in the things I can do. Meanwhile, you can walk forward, but then you'll be in my face. You can walk backwards, and then you're completely unrestricted in what you can do there. You have that as a resource. You can move as far back as you want. So that's an option that's available to you. You can jump, or you can jump upwards, you can jump towards me, you can do so many things. And that's the reason why this is an advantage for you. If I want to get through you, I have to get past you, but if I move forward, you have the ability to move backwards to keep me in a position where I'm still directly threatened. Meanwhile, let's say you move closer to me, when I'm here on the ledge, now I have more ability to do things, because in one quick motion I can get past you. So if you keep that invisible barrier, that threat zone, choking me at the wall, then it becomes harder for me to escape. At this range, you're still a little bit too close because I can catch you off guard. But if you're a little bit like right there, that's good, because if I maybe have a tiny bit of room to move, but if I move much further than this, like I can't catch you before you can react. Like if I try to run up to you and grab you, you can very easily spot that. Assuming not Wi-Fi, assuming not lag, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not the only thing that makes an advantage. The other thing that makes an advantage is something called a frame advantage. This is something a lot of people tend to forget when they're creating these advantages. So, no, when they're considering advantages. Like, stage control is pretty obvious. I'm off stage, you're not. It's like, it's in a good spot. You can turn on Buster Art, you can wail on me till Kingdom Come with while I'm here on the edge trying to find a way to break through, right? Now, frame advantage is something a little different. It's something extremely important for Shulk mains in particular to keep in mind, because our frame data is already really slow, so when we're in a frame disadvantage, we can't do anything.
Yeah. Puts us in a lot of trouble.
Mm-hmm. And besides that, when we're in a frame advantage, suddenly our frame data makes a lot more sense. So let's say I land here with an air dodge, and now I'm in lag. Because I'm in lag, I'm at a frame disadvantage because it's later for me to be able to act out. In that moment, you could throw out whatever attack you want, and suddenly attacks that are normally useless become a lot more useful. For example, your forward smash, things of that nature. This is generally what creates openings. This is something you wanted to talk about, is finding ways to recognize these openings. And this right here is something that creates it. When you have an advantage over your opponent, you have the ability to cover their options. Because they have less options, it's a lot easier to predict what they're going to do. And that right there is the possibility for an opening. Besides that, if your opponent's options are restricted, like for example, let's say I air dodge over here and not so much in your face. Even though you can't directly threaten me, you can run towards me and make me scared. And then from this point, I would make it possibly a defensive option because it's one of the few things I can do. And at that point, if you read the defensive option, then that's an opening. So even though that's not directly an opening, you can create an opening by applying pressure there. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So, in terms of throwing away leads, what exactly do you mean by that?
Well, notoriously, if in the situation where if I take the first stock, Shulk is like very well equipped to be able to live to high percents in ways that I can just like tack on percent even though I'm still on my first stock. But sometimes I get I guess a little antsy because I'm in the lead, so I'm basically in control. But sometimes I let that go to my head, I think, and then from there I commit to a dumb option.
Okay. So maybe, like, by dumb option, you mean something like, let's say you're at 150% and then you try to back air my shield?
Yep. Something like that.
Alright, that's a case of decision making right there. So let's talk a little bit about that. Hold on, let me write down some notes real quick about what we've talked about so far so I don't forget. Okay. Okay. So, this goes in a little bit into decision making. So, the most important thing to keep in mind when you're trying to make good decisions in this game is the concept of risk versus reward. So let's say, let's put back in that situation. You're at a ridiculously high percent. Turn on jump art so it's easier to get your percent high. So you're ridiculously high percent, and you want to not die. You want to survive for a very long time.
Yep.
This is good enough, whatever. Since it won't actually kill you, but it'll get the effect. So, let's say, I want to kill you, so I'm generally... You can expect your opponent's going to be throwing out some kill moves, so there's some moves you want to avoid. You want to avoid being grabbed, you want to avoid being up smashed, you want to avoid being back aired near the ledge, things like that. So, keeping in mind what you want to avoid, you need to think of what creates those situations. So let's say you decide you want to back air me. At this point, you got to think about what do you gain if this succeeds. If you back air my shield with an advancing back air, then if you hit me, you're going to get a little bit of percent and maybe take some stage control. But if you fail, because I shield grab you or dodge, then I grab you, back throw you, and you die. That right there, the reward is a bit of percent and stage control. The risk is death. That's not a worthy trade. That's not what you should be going for. Don't go for the advancing backer in that situation. It's not worth it. Now, if the situation is instead something like you're in, let's say you're in center stage and you try to nair my shield in jump art. At this point, the risk is that I shield grab you or maybe punish out a shield, but it's kind of hard to do so because you're in jump art, especially if you're moving with mobility, if you're using that mobility to your advantage. So there's not much risk in this situation even though you're at death percent. The only thing it is that maybe I can chase you down and then maybe get something afterwards. It's not dealing in absolutes. This is generally fine. There's not much risk. The reward is you start a combo and potentially kill me at stupid low percent. That's worth it. So you can go for that. It's very unlikely that you're going to die from that situation, so that's when you want to consider the possibility of going for that trade. So generally, you want to keep in mind that risk-reward ratio for almost any situation that you end up going for. And that's the essence of making good decisions. Here's another example.
Yeah.
Let's say you get me off stage, and you try to edgeguard me.
Like, right there, I'm assuming?
Yeah, you wanna keep in
Not
mind...
fair.
Yeah, you want to keep in mind the risk versus the reward of trying to edgeguard Mario here. So, let's say tables are turned. I have one stock left, and I'm at, let's say, this percentage. You have one stock. Actually, no. Raise my percentage a little bit. Let's make the example a little more interesting. Okay, let's say you are at this percentage on your last stock, I'm at this percentage on my last stock. Or even better, let's say you're at a fresh stock. And we're both on our last stocks here. So I'm off stage, because you knocked me off stage, and I'm trying to recover. But then you go out here, and then you gotta keep in mind the risk-reward of the situation. If you were to go off stage to try to edgeguard me, and I up B and stage spike you, and you die, then that's throwing away an advantage you had. Meanwhile, if you were to do what you just did and stay on stage and try to cover me when I get back on the stage, then at this point, you're not really losing too much. The worst I can do is get you off stage and not kill you, even though it's a scary situation.
Yeah.
But if you went off stage and you died, then you would have lost everything. You had the percent lead, you had the stage control. Like, even if you were to survive that situation, you just threw away stage control. Here, like, maybe you can lose stage control, but generally the worst that'll happen is we just reset to neutral, because, like, let's say I make it back on stage, and then I get up attack, and then we're in neutral. But still, I'm on the ledge, you're in the center of the stage, you're generally keeping that advantage, and I'm still at 99%, you still have the percentage. In general, it's about making sure when you have the advantage, you don't need to throw it away. Because it's safer to just stay on stage and get something out of it. But at the same time, you're fighting another character that, like, for example, let's put the same example out again. Except this time, you're in jump art, and you knock me farther away from the stage. At this point, when I'm over here, you can contest my recovery before that double jump. Because I can't up-B to stage spike you. There's very little to lose here. The worst that can happen is I risk my life trying to dunk you like that. So when Mario is farther away from the stage, you can edgeguard him. That's the idea of the risk-reward going on there. So if you keep that in mind for almost any situation that you come across, just apply that philosophy, and you're generally going to be making smarter decisions all throughout. I can't exactly go through every single decision, obviously, but
yeah, just like keep in mind their offstage decisions, and from there find out if I were to counter with X decision, what would I get out of it?
And also think about what they want from you. So, for example, let's say you're at 150% and Mario runs up to you.
Yeah.
You gotta keep in mind what are the possibilities here. Like, normally in neutral, it's kind of hard to guess exactly what he's gonna do. Maybe he can run and maybe he can pivot like that and then try to bait an option out of you. Maybe he can run up to you and up smash. Maybe he can run up to you and grab. Maybe he can run up to you and shield. Like, he has a lot of different possibilities of what he can do. But you gotta think about what are the most important ones that you gotta watch out for. Let's say you're right there on that ledge and I run towards you. The main things that you need to watch out for here are kill moves and grab. Because if I run up to you here and I pivot grab you, you die. And if I run up to you here and I up smash, you die.
Also dead.
So those are the main two things you gotta worry about. Anything else is flack, and nothing else is gonna really kill you, even at 150%. The worst I could probably do is, like, catch your jump with a down air. And that's, like, I'd be a god, you know?
Yeah.
So... exactly. So maybe Mario's gonna try to mix it up like that, and boy oh boy, you just got caught. But you gotta just keep in mind the options that you're scared of and just play around them. It's very easy to avoid... No, it's hard to avoid all of Mario's options, but it's very easy to put yourself in a position where you will not get caught by specific options, like Mario's up smash or Mario's grab, or, like, maybe even back air. Just play space to play at a distance where you can react to Mario's options, and then just survive as long as possible. Because stray hits aren't going to kill you. If Mario grabs you from center stage, you're not going to die. So around center stage, you don't really got to worry about getting grabbed. The worst thing that'll probably happen is, like, down throw to up air, and that could kill you off the top. But if you DI properly, you're not going to get caught. So, let me see what else we can talk about moving forward. Okay, you said you had trouble losing the spot dodge. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Which is kind of silly, but it's just one of those things.
No, it's not silly at all. It's something that makes a lot of sense. The thing about...
I've just seen it in my VODs, so, like, I know that I gotta find something to deal with it.
Okay, I'm gonna give you an exercise here. This is something that you can apply to almost anything that you struggle with, whether it's an opponent who shields your attacks or spot dodges. This is actually the exact situation that I give to a lot of people. It's one of the situations that I use in order to learn. So, imagine you're fighting Mario here. Doesn't matter what percent. Like, he's standing right here near the ledge, and he's a very predictable player. He's going to do one of two things, okay?
Yeah.
If you run towards him, he will spot dodge. If you jump, he will hold shield. What can you do to beat him? Yep, that's one option. What else you got? Not quite. That only works as a Wi-Fi, but if you try that again from a distance I can react, then I can very easily just spot dodge and beat that too. Well, I'm too close here.
Yeah.
A delayed option would work like that, yeah. That right there was the danger zone. That's throwing away the advantage right there. Normally that would not work unless you did it from a distance where I can't react. It's just Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's stop trying to do it applied. Think about it first. Tell me what you would do. Because Wi-Fi is a little hard sometimes.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, mainly, well, if you're shielding, tomahawks are usually great.
Yeah, but okay, let's apply it slightly differently. I'm going to shield until you land, and then I'm going to spot dodge.
Jabs? Like...
Yeah, I mean, you can throw out an active jab. That would work. Something to cover the distance. It's just Shulk's jab kind of moves him, so you kind of have to space yourself properly. Besides that, you don't get much reward from that. Yeah. The idea here is to try to, like, you can think of partial wins, and you can think of things that would be safe. Like, for example, if you spaced out an aerial outside of range of my my shield, it wouldn't be a complete win, but, like, I'd take shield damage, and I'd be forced to reconsider my position. So eventually you could win like that. But it's not a complete win. Likewise, you can cross me up with Nair, but then if I'm in this situation, then if you try to cross me up with Nair, now you're on the ledge.
And you have rage, and then that's scary.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the most that you really want.
Yeah. Whatever goes through my mind in that situation, well, say you're at high percent and I'm trying to just get that stock off. Usually what I think is, how can I hold stage and still have those safe pokes, and if I get punished, can I, like, minimize it somehow?
Yeah. Okay, well, let's let me lay down a couple things that you need to think about. Because right now you're thinking of direct interactions and ways to beat it. But I want you to, instead of thinking of direct interactions, think of misdirection. Your opponent is human. As such, you can fool your opponent into thinking certain things. So if you come up with an option that you can use in order to trick your opponent, to bait them into doing so. Like, let's say you're the opponent who's spot dodging every time I approach, right? Let me show you something I would do to beat it out. Something to stutter my movement, so I come in with the shield. Then when I come in with the shield, I react to the spot dodge and I grab. That's a clear win in my favor. So if you see an opponent who's constantly going in like that, then you can just run in the shield, and then in reaction to the spot dodge, grab them. You have to be fast to do it.
Okay.
Another thing you can do is something like this. You might have to think about how to do it with Shulk. It's something I'm still struggling with. It's something in order to bait the reaction. Like, let's say I run towards you from the other side of the stage, but then I do that. Try to react to when I'm gonna grab you. With a spot dodge, specifically.
Okay.
You see how good that is?
Yep.
It's a little trickier for Shulk to do something like that, but you can get a similar effect by walking towards the person and then stuttering your movement. Maybe you can do something like with an extended dash dance, or even like walk forward, perfect pivot, run forward. Or even I've seen Eriko does this on occasion, where he will foxtrot, stop, and then run. Something like that. To stutter his movement and kind of bait the reaction. Like just one foxtrot and then run forward. That's a classic case of misdirection. Another thing you could potentially do is, especially in speed art, which lowers your jump height, you can like jump towards someone and then short hop fast fall, like double jump fast fall, and then punish them after they do the thing. So especially with Shulk, if you get them with a landing in air like that, you can start a combo. Like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Misdirection is something that a lot of people generally don't consider when dealing with an opponent like this. You probably seen my videos where I talk about the main playstyles that people generally end up using. The passive, passive, active, offensive, defense, that sort of thing. Well, the spot dodge example, with a person holding shield and spot dodging, that classifies as passive defense. And the way you beat that is with an active defense. And something that would qualify as that would be running forward and shielding, and like movement, misdirection. You know, things like that. Like, it's essentially the essence of active defense is misdirection. You want to bait their options, and then you want to punish them with a reaction. That's why active defense tends to lose to people rushing them down, because, like, you can't react to that. Like, if you try to run into me with a shield, and I just run up and grab you, you cannot react. Because I already got you. Okay, let me see. What else? So, this kind of goes into the concept of recognizing and creating openings as well. So, essentially, if your opponent is hard to get a beat on, like playing passively, trying to play reactively right there, and you're constantly overextending to try to get something on them, then they're just going to react to everything you do and then punish you for it. That's the way they play. So what you need to do in this situation is, if you can't punish them, if you can't start something when they're playing passively, then what you need to do is you need to bait them to overextend. And the way you do that is by playing active defense. So, exactly, that sort of thing. So if I'm going to spot dodge because I see your thing, then right there you have the opportunity to punish me out of shield and get something started. Likewise, you can use movement mix-ups. Like, think of dash dancing in Melee.
Yeah.
The way people use dash dancing in Melee, a lot of people think it was just flashy movement. No, that's not the point. The point was the ability to get in and out of someone's threat zone safely, and then being able to go back and punish them. So for example, if I dash dance over here on the other side of the stage, it doesn't mean anything, because by the time I start dashing at you, I might as well have been standing still and then dash at you. It's the same result. But if I'm over here and I'm dash dancing, then you have to be scared, because at any point I can come at you before you can react. Because I am in and out of your range, and essentially forces you to consider a range. Or something like this, for example. If I run towards you and I roll backwards a couple times, then suddenly, instead of reacting to me running forward, you have to react to whether or not I roll backwards. And at that point, it might be too late for you to react. Make sense?
Yeah.
That right there is the essence of active defense. It's not only to bait and punish, which is where the misconception tends to come. It's the fact that at a point, your opponent can no longer tell whether you're baiting, and then suddenly you can catch him off guard. And then that in itself becomes the punish, because you do not react when I'm trying to trigger you. That's why people who play exclusively bait and punish often struggle against certain players that just call their bluff. But at some point, once you realize that they're trying to call your bluff, you can just hit them. That's the extra step that a lot of people end up missing out on. So that right there is a big part of what comes to create openings. In terms of recognizing openings, it's about exploiting advantages and covering options. So even slight advantages like resources, maybe your opponent is within a certain percent range, so they're going to be scared of certain options. Like as Shulk, right now you're 146%, I want to grab you, I want to up smash you. So because you know I want to grab you, I want to up smash you, you can generally tell what Mario's options in this situation are going to be, and you can play around them. Because you're playing around them, you're recognizing openings. Like, if you were watching the matches that I had against Rafi and Benny and the Jets last night in the tournament.
I didn't get to catch that. I had classes and all that.
That's important. Anyways, what I was doing generally there was I knew that I was in the percentage where they would want to grab me and then down throw up it.
Yep.
It's like I was in the perfect death percent. So what I did was instead of focusing on avoiding everything else, I focused on baiting the grab and punishing it. I was constantly playing anti-grab, so I would stay at around this distance with Shulk and just nair away. Because at that point they could not punish it. Or maybe I go in and then jump, because I know he's not going to come in and fair me. I know if he runs in and up airs, it's going to miss. But if he runs in and fairs, he's not going to get anything out of it, besides stage control. And he wasn't going to do that when he thinks he can get a grab. I recognized the fact that he was getting desperate for it, and I played with that to my benefit. Likewise, if you're fighting Mario as Shulk, you're seeing he wants to go for the grab, he wants to go for the up smash, you play in a way that allows you to avoid it. Whether that's like staying at a range that you can react to Mario's approaches, so you can get around when he tries to do it. Maybe every time he comes towards you, you jump backwards and back air. So you force Mario to instead overextend. And even then, it's very hard for him to do it, or for him to catch you. And all the while, he's trying to play RPS with you. He's trying to get the grab, he's trying to get the up smash. So you play in a way that allows you to avoid all of those options. And occasionally options like up air as well are things you want to avoid. Especially if you're the kind of Shulk player who lives for a very long time, you can get people very anxious very easily.
Oh yeah.
Now you're at 114%. Now you know what I want. If it wasn't for miss input, you probably would have died there.
Yep.
And there's going to be things that he can do to try to get you, and that right there is the importance of risk-reward. That's when you need to think, okay, if I get caught here, what's going to happen? Let me raise your percent a little bit. We can get back into that sort of situation. Alright, good enough. So, it's the concept of risk-reward that you gotta keep in mind there. By the way, thanks a lot for the follow, Ellie and Emily, much appreciated. You want to make sure that whatever decision you end up making doesn't get you caught out and die. Like, when you threw out that forward tilt has too much ending lag, so if you ended up throwing it out and I didn't end up committing, you're dead. Meanwhile, if it was down tilt, you would have had enough time to at least back off. And you're still getting the same result. I'm not at death percent. I'm not going to die to a forward tilt. So the reward's still very similar. This is what's important about the fact that Shulk has a lot of safety behind his moves. Even though his frame data is low, it doesn't affect... No, he can space himself to a point where he can be extremely safe while using those attacks. Especially if you add in things like Malk. Which, you said your tech skill isn't quite up there yet, but you'll get that down the line.
Like, I always commit to one option, because, like, whenever I'm Malk, my first action tends to be shield, which, in the case if I were to use it to bait out a grab, that's not the best choice, since I'll always just get shield grabbed anyway. It doesn't matter if I Malked it, I'm still getting grabbed.
Yeah, so you gotta keep in mind what your opponent's tendencies are. Yeah, you gotta trust the Malk, or you gotta, instead of shielding, you gotta roll, or spot dodge, or things like that. Or, you know, either trust the Malk, delay your roll, learn the timing so you can stand still for just long enough, and then roll, you know? Things like that. Or then shield. It also depends, because, like, the reason you would want to shield in that situation is if, for example, try to Malk against me. Do an advancing back air Malk. There's going to be a lot of players that just hold the A button out of shield in order to try to cover the Malk once they get tired of dealing with it, because it throws out an active hitbox that just stays out for a while and can catch you off guard if you're trying to avoid a grab. Because if you Malk and then I grab, you can very easily punish that. But if I hold jab, and you're trying to punish that, then it's not going to work. That is the situation where you would want to Malk and shield. But if they're not doing that, if they're going for the immediate punish, there's no point. Just hold shield and then punish that out of shield. And if they're not holding jab, then just Malk or roll or do whatever you want and then punish it. Or even just use it to bail. Use it for safety as opposed to using it as a bait. Anyways, now that you're at 152%, let's go back to that situation you were in. So, you know the things you want to avoid. So I want you to make decisions. I want you to play in a way that will allow you to avoid those specific options that can kill you. You already know what Mario's kill options are. I want you to play around them and get as much damage as you can. If you take my stock first, then you win.
Gotcha.
Nice. Let's see how much damage you can get now. You can do better than that. Hold on, let's make this easier. We're gonna turn on a handicap.
No contest.
Okay, I want you to turn on handicap.
Okay.
And I want you to set your percentage to 125. I'm gonna set my percentage to 0. Let's go to a different stage. Did I ever finish that Wi-Fi tournament? No. I got disconnected from the internet and I had to forfeit. We ended up splitting the pot, but my opponent got the points. It's a shame because I thought I was gonna win. But whatever.
Shock Rob is an interesting matchup.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's so fun to play around with gyro.
Alright, let's go. Survive as long as you can, give me as much percentage as you can. Okay, 26%, not too bad. Let's try that again.
Alright.
Ooh, right there. Risk. Too much risk,
Yeah.
too little reward. That was
Thought
really
you were
good, though.
giving me more back.
92%. Now, I respect that, but you want to do it in a situation where your opponent does not have the options to escape. Like, if they're... Or if the risk is worth the reward. For example, if you're in Shield Art, you don't think you're going to die from my retaliation, then you can throw it out. Because it might have killed me. He had a lot of rage. It could have worked. But it didn't.
Yeah.
And you died. You should
It's
not have
moments
done
like
that.
those that I'm talking about.
Exactly. That's risk versus reward, and that's exactly what you think. That's what you want to think about. Now, I want you to keep something in mind about how we just did right there. The most percentage that you got was when you turned on Buster when I was at the ledge. That right there was the result of you taking an advantage and exploiting it. I want you to do that more. You want to hold on to that advantage state as long as possible. Because in neutral, I have the opportunity to gain the upper hand, and if I have the upper hand, you have less options, which makes it easier for me to get a kill off of you.
Yeah.
Alright, let's try this again. Also, keep in mind, I have to act, you don't. You have a lead in this hypothetical situation. Okay, not good that time. Let's try that again. That was pretty good. Right there, you got juked. You got. Oh my god.
I thought my jump was there somewhere. But
Yeah, dude.
I forgot that I did not land.
Oh, you could have died right there.
I play a lot against a Ryu that has a very good punish game, so there are just moments that I know that I should have been dead.
Yeah. That's the other thing. You almost died right there. It was a misinput that saved your life. And I want to talk about it as soon as this round ends. Nice. Risk, reward. I died because I slept, but that you gotta calm down. Yo, is that Cherubi Knight? Yo, how you doing, man? Okay, so what I want to talk about there, when you were spacing me out with down tilts and you threw out 3 down tilts, be very careful with that. Although 1 down tilt is safe, the issue with Shulk's frame data isn't the fact that he gets boxed out of his attacks. The issue is that he cannot attack repeatedly very easily. After you down tilt, there's let me see what the exact frame data is so I can tell you. Slide. Okay, there we go. I know the attack comes out on frame 10. I want to see the cooldown of the attack. Okay, so frame 10, 11, and FAF is frame 32. So frame 32, the attack starts again if you do it twice in a row. So I want you to think about that. There's 20 frames plus 9 frames, so it's half a second where you can't, or where you have nothing out after you down tilt. So if you down tilt twice in a row, that's a half a second window where your opponent can punish you. If they react to the down tilt, then they have 20 frames, a third of a second, to punish you before the second down tilt comes out. That's way too big of a window. So at that time, after you threw out the first down tilt and I went to punish you with the up smash, you could have died. The reason you didn't die was because I misinputted. So I want you to think about that. You have enough time to back off. You don't have enough time to throw out another down tilt. Oftentimes, the best way to back off isn't by rolling or spot dodging because that causes you to overcommit. Sometimes it's not even to jump because then you have 5 frames to jump. Sometimes you just gotta run away. Just use your legs. It's an undervalued option. It's fantastic. Just move. All right, let's try that again. That time was weak.
Yeah.
Nice. 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 Attack. That was pretty good. Alright, one more time. Oh. Very nice. You actually got a kill this time. Alright, you want to do it one more time?
Sure.
Alright. That was still pretty good. No, that was you weren't in position to do it. Essentially, since you got hit out of the no, while you were in ISA.
I got hit by the fireball. Yeah.
It triggered the
50 frames.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't just the 50 frames. It was something else. It was the what's it called? The RCO airspeed. You weren't able to drift to the ledge. You had, in order to escape from that situation, you had to air dodge to reset your drift, and then get onto the stage. Okay, so something you've definitely noticed is that Buster is extremely effective in this situation. But maybe you didn't notice the exact reason. It's not only the fact that you get so much damage, but because it makes your attack so safe on shield. And the way that most people are going to break through this wall is by running in and shielding. So if you use a Buster attack to hit them, it keeps them in shield stun for longer, and it makes it a lot harder to pierce that wall. It makes it so they can't punish you out of shield as easily unless they're perfect shielding absolutely everything. And even if they perfect shield, the shield stun is longer, so it becomes harder for them to adapt to that and catch you out of the shield. So essentially, especially when someone wants to grab you, they're going to be shielding a lot. They're going to be advancing with shield in order to try to get the grab afterwards. And Buster is extremely good for preventing that. That's something I want you to be doing a lot more. So we have about 5 minutes left. Is there anything, something last that you want to cover? Anything you think we didn't get to, or maybe something you want clarified?
It all makes sense. It's just more so now putting it into practice. A lot of it is just theory, and then.
Yeah, we had one practical section, but beyond that, most of it is just altering the way you think in regards to making decisions. Like I said, this is it's gonna hurt you before it's gonna help you, because when you start thinking about doing things in terms of making good decisions, you're going to start playing a lot safer, even in situations where you don't have to be playing super safe. So maybe it's going to cause you to lose opportunities that normally you'd be able to claim. But at the same time, the other aspect of it, the advantages section, is what I'm hoping will make it easier for you to force your opponent to give you access to what you're lacking. So if you know what you need to do, where you can get the most reward in... Oh, there was something that we messed up, no, that we left out. Optimal punishes.
Ooh, yeah.
Alright. So, let's talk about that real quick with the time we have left. So, I've actually been working on a chart. It's not done yet. It's not going to be done for a very long time. That's listing out Shulk's optimal punishes in certain situations based on specific combo tools. So, one issue that I had way back in the day was I would play... I still kind of have this issue, but I'm getting a lot better with it. I play in a very improvised style. I try to punish the opponent in whatever way I can think of at the time, and it does sometimes come out really cool and really flashy, and people think my play is really fun because of that, and I find the game really fun because of that. But it also means that in situations where I could have gotten something better, I often settle for something else because I just picked something else, not because I want it. So, for example, there's going to be a lot of times where you're going to see the opponent over here at a distance, and you think, okay, I'm going to back air them because it's easy, right?
Yeah.
Well, instead of going for the back air, you could have gone to something else, like maybe a reverse nair. And the reverse nair would lead into combo if you are able to hit him the right way. So that right there would be more optimal, especially at a percentage where the back air is not going to kill or pressure him out. Meanwhile, the back air would only really get you stage control. And sometimes stage control is exactly what you need. But, you gotta keep in mind what it is. This also goes a little bit into risk-reward, more so into the reward factor. So if two things have the same amount of risk, but one has more reward, why wouldn't you pick it? And that's more optimal. So, for example, the forward tilt and the down tilt spacing, when you were spacing forward tilt in order to try to catch me out when I was trying to break through you, the forward tilt and the down tilt has less risk. Forward tilt has more risk, but it has more reward at higher percents where it's going to kill. So for example, if I was at like 140% and use forward tilt, I'm dead.
Yeah.
Or if I'm at the ledge and you forward tilt when I'm at like 90%, I'm dead. But the down tilt, what it gives you is a potential combo tool. It's not you can't true combo out of it, but let's turn on jump art. I want you to down tilt and chase me with a fair. I'm gonna try to jump out. Okay, let me try lower percent. Get me to about 50%. Okay. Almost. Now I want you to think about it in a different way though. I want you to aim for nair fair fair, or for down tilt fair fair. Let's turn this edge guard setup into a kill confirm.
Okay, so nair fair fair?
No, down tilt fair fair.
Okay.
Close. You want to hit with the sweet spot of fair. There you go. Even though it's not a true combo, you can get a kill from it.
Yeah.
This is turning down tilt into a 50-50. This is what's a lot more optimal. Meanwhile, if I air dodge, you can read the air dodge and you can fair that. Or you can down air, you can do whatever you want. Because I'm at 50%, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
You know? It's pretty damn good. So that right there is turning something like that, a spacing tool, into something more optimal. Because maybe you would think you don't really get much from the down tilt. Meanwhile, forward tilt gives you damage and more stage control. But from down tilt, you can get a kill confirm from a 50-50. Almost. You want to fastball a little bit after the first fair so you position it. At this percentage, it's not possible. At this percentage, the most you can get is a 50-50. And if I jump away, then I'm just going to break out. It also has to do with your rage. It's not going down because of the handicap, but something to think about.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's an example of what you can do. Besides that, the main tools you want to watch out for in terms of getting your optimal setups are advancing nair and pressuring someone on ledge with Buster in general. Buster up tilt is stupid good for damage. Up tilt in general is good for positioning, because you can just keep someone in the air for a long time. Like right there, instead of using forward tilt to try to catch my landing, you could have up tilted again. You need to keep in mind how large your up tilt is. Like here, I want you to memorize the range of your up tilt. It's longer in the air than it is on the ground. if you keep me in the air, like, I'm almost out of options. I can't do much. Like, I can air dodge to the ground, and if I air dodge to the ground, then you can catch me in a frame advantage. And that right there is another opportunity to keep your advantage stay going. Anyways, we're just about out of time. So, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up here.
Okay.
Any final questions?
As of now, I got nothing, but like if something comes up,
Yeah, for sure. Hit me up in the good.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, I wish you luck at Big House. Hope you enjoyed the lesson. Hope you learned.
Yeah,
And
thanks.
take care of yourself, man.
Yeah, this gave me a lot to think about. So yeah, thanks.
For sure. No problem. Take care of yourself, man.
All right, take it easy.
Okay, well that was fun. These lessons I offer as a donation incentive on my stream. So if you donate $20 to my stream and ask, I will give you one of these lessons tailored to your needs. Usually focus on fundamentals, not just Shulk, but for any character. I've also been for Twitch subscribers, I've been discounting it to $15. So either way, thanks so much for the support. Hope you guys enjoyed. And yeah. It's been good times. I want to get back into doing these lessons more frequently. So we'll see what ends up happening down the line.